Right, welcome back troops. I can't see a thing, the sun's directly in my eyes, but we'll just go for it. So it's another glorious day. I'm out in the garden. I'll probably be camping out overnight. I want a stove on, and ordinarily I use my cut down fire pit. So let's just get that started. But as you can see, the sun's out, so why use consumable resources when the sun's out and we can make use of the sun? I could use a magnifying glass, I could use a torch reflector, but I'm going to see if I can use my cooking pan with some char cloth. It should work, but the sun is getting a little bit low. It's nearly 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but we'll give it a go. Quite difficult without sunglasses on. We've got it to see whether this is a light. Usually the only time you know it's a light is when you see it turning white. I'll just put it in a little bit more char cloth because the tinder bundle has been in the wood store, so it's a bit damp. So that's our normal stove alight using a tin pan, but that's not what I'm here for today really. What I really want to show you is another stove. Now, as some of you might know, on a Sunday, every second or third Sunday, I go up to the farm and we play up there, and one of the guys I see up there is Paul from Manticore Knives, who makes bushcraft knives. But he's been rummaging around in his scrap bin, and from the scrap in his scrap bin, with some spare time he had, I'll bring you around, but I'll show you. The way. I'll just put a bit of wood on that before it goes out. Okay, so I was up at the farm on Sunday, and we get up to various activities up there, some of which you've seen already. But Paul from Manticore Knives had been raking around in his scrap bin and pulled out enough steel to make a rocket stove. Now, I haven't used a rocket stove before. I don't think Paul had used a rocket stove before, but he knocked it up and he gave it to me to try out. So what it is really is a burn chamber at the bottom of this chimney here, with an air feed at the bottom and a fuel feed And there's various different designs of these, but this is what Paul came up with the scrap he pulled out the scrap bin. So the idea of it is it burns the fuel much more efficiently than if you just had the fuel out in the open or just partially contained. Because as we all know, wood doesn't burn. It doesn't burn. You heat the wood up, the wood decomposes, gives off wood gas. The wood gas mixes with oxygen in the air, and it's the mixture of the wood gas and the oxygen that burn, and later on the mixture of the carbon that's left and the oxygen that burns. So whatever you're using as an ignition source, you heat the wood up first, it decomposes and those gases burn, and those gases though can spread out all over the place. Well, in a rocket stove you feed the wood in down here, and obviously there's already heat in there to start the thing off with your paper or whatever you put in, your birch bark or whatever. So the wood effectively starts burning and it warms the chimney up. You get a draft up the chimney, it sucks the air in from below here, so you get, all a rocket stove does essentially is provide some draw and directs the air to the fuel where it's needed, and then your heat continues on up, and you can put your pan on the top here. That's a bit tight, that bit tight, that on this pan support here. Still, we don't want it falling off, do we? So since getting it, I've painted it, and that may cause some gassing off when I first started up, so it might smoke a bit, because that's another advantage of a rocket stove, is that because you get a good airflow where you want it, it shouldn't give off much smoke, providing your wood's dry and relatively clean. Ideally not loads of bark on it. So I'm going to give this a go, because I've never used one before, and I'm sure Paul's dying to see how it works as well. So we're going to fire this up. So I'll just get some water on the other stove, because me and the dog will be having our tea out here tonight. So I want some water on the go. So I'll just get that sorted out and then we'll look at the rocket stove. I'm getting the wrong side of the grain now. Right, let's try another one. Right, so I'm going to drop the feather sticks down into the burn chamber there. I might just push down a little bit of last year's rose bay willow herb in there as well. Push that down and so you can see them down there inside the burn chamber. Right, so I suspect there's a bit of a knack to starting these, and I think my best bet will be with a bit of paper shoved in here. So we'll sort that out. Right, I'm just going to get a bit of black paper and see if we can't get that alight with the magnifying glass, because the sun is going down a little bit now, so this is where your char cloth or your Daldinia concentrica comes into its own. I've only got a very small piece of char cloth left. Well, there's our paper alight. Can you hear it? So that's looking down inside the burn chamber, and you can see the sticks are only burning at the bottom end, so it could in fact be self-feeding to some extent. If you're getting any smoke off from the side, it's not coming from this stove, it's coming from the other stove. If you look at the top of this stove, there's no smoke coming out. You can see a heat haze, but no smoke. And I can't hold my hand. I can't hold my hand here. It's too hot to hold my hand there. So that's down in the burn chamber, and that's the air intake at the bottom. So you can see the ash in the bottom there. And that's a consideration, is ash. Preferably you want to put wood in without bark on it, because bark will make more ash. I shut this hatch down, it should help with the drawer a bit. And the paint is standing up remarkably well. I can feel the heat from that here. You don't want to touch it. You don't want to touch it at all. The top of the fuel intake's cool, and it's getting a bit hot on the air intake. So let's get some water on. Right, I've got 2 full cups of water in there, and it's going on at exactly 26 minutes past 4. So that's not just a rolling boil, but a galloping boil, I would say, after 8 minutes. And we've consumed a little over this section of wood here. A little over that. So before it evaporates, I better get myself a cup of tea. It is a little dangerous having this sat up this high, with me sat on this bench here. But for demonstration purposes, right, so that's pretty much the rocket stove, how it works, how efficient it is, how clean it is. It's obviously got some disadvantages. You're not going to be backpacking this into the woods any distance. It's quite heavy, but for a semi-permanent camp or somewhere you're going where you've got transport, it's ideal. Conserves on your fuel, especially in hot weather where you're not after heat. But even if you're after heat, I can't hold my hands for any length of time any closer than this. In fact, I really want them further than this. And that's the only other serious modification I would suggest on this, is perhaps double skinning or coating the chimney so that all this heat that I can feel being radiated off the chimney is actually going up onto your pan as well. The paint has stood up tremendously well. I only put this paint on a few hours ago, so I was a little bit worried about it. But it's 600 degree paint. Whether or not Paul is intending to make these for sale or not, I don't know, but I'll put a link to Manticore Knives in the description, just in case you're interested. You know, I'm not trying to push any sales or anything. You give me this to try out. I've tried it out. It's still going now. I'm going to cook my dinner on it in a minute, and my eyeballs are getting cooked here. So rocket stoves, they work. They have got a place. Right then, so that concludes this video. Another tremendous success. Something I've never tried before. And look, it's still clean. It's if I don't leave it out in the rain so the internals get rusty, but even if the internals get rusty, it's going to take a lot of years for that to rust through. You've only got to look at my it's just off camera to the right. It's running at the moment. My fire pit, that's been out in all weathers for years, and I'm still using it. And this is as thick, same thickness as the fire pit. So tremendous. Now then, next video will be, I've been tagged by Andy Outdoors, do something bushcrafty, so I have got something in mind. That will be the next video, Andy. It will be something not wholly unusual but slightly unusual, something I've been meaning to get around to, so that's kicked me off in that direction to get that done. So I'll leave that for the next video, and I'll see you in however long it takes, a few days to a week. So I'll get on with my dinner. Me and the dog will be camping out in the garden. That noise you can hear in the background is the dog is at work. And there's the dog hard at work, so we're all hard at work. And when she's finished with that, she might give it to me so I can make a needle or a arrowhead or something out of it, but that's not my next video. She'll be asking me to help her get the marrow out of it next. Right, that's it then. I'm off to make my tea now. I'll catch you in a few days.